never left. What's up, beautiful people listening and / or watching if you're on YouTube? We're Side After... who are we again?
Side After Dark.
We're Side After Dark, your new favorite band. I'm Dan Berg.
I'm Sifa Graffiti.
Welcome to the Music Maniacs podcast.
Yep.
This is going to be a very interesting episode.
Yes.
Our last two episodes have been about specific artists, but we're going to do something different this time. Basically, I went to Chicago like 2 weeks ago, and I thought it was really cool. So we were like, you know what? Let's do an episode about the history of music in Chicago and how important Chicago has been to music.
Yeah.
And just kind of talk about like all those related things.
Yeah.
But before we get into it, what's up? How you doing? Anything you want to tell the people?
Nothing really new. It's a pretty nice day in New York City here, out in Brooklyn. Nothing too crazy going on, which is interesting. But
yeah, for once.
For once. But other than that, I'm just ready to get into it. It seems like it's going to be a really big topic because I found out about a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chicago's quite an interesting place. So I went there, and literally like on the plane on the way there, I was like, oh, this is going to be exciting. I've never been to Chicago before, blah, blah, blah. And as I was on the plane, I was like, wait a minute. I've never even been to the Midwest before. Like, I've been to the Middle East before I've been, right, to the other side of our own country.
Exactly. Like, I've been to Africa. I've been to the Caribbean. I've been to Europe. I have never left the East Coast. Never.
Isn't that wild?
Yes.
So I thought that was funny because I was just like, oh, this is like a whole different, like, lifestyle, like this Midwest shit. Like, people were nice there.
Okay.
It was weird. Why the
That's
fuck you being all nice all the time?
Yeah.
How dare you have the nerve to treat other people with respect?
Yeah. That's pretty interesting.
But okay. So the main thing that I noticed, I texted you this, right? Literally, I got off the plane. So my cousin works for like this hotel downtown. So we were only in like downtown Chicago. Like I didn't really see much of the city. Uh-huh. So like, I'm just saying this now because people that are actually from Chicago would be like, you know shit. You only hung out by the river. You didn't go to this neighborhood, but whatever. All right, this is our podcast. So I'm going to act like I know everything about Chicago because I was there for 2 days.
That's right.
So deal with it, all right? So first of all, it was clean.
Yeah.
Like I walked out of the hotel. I'm like, yo, there's like not mountains of garbage on every corner. What kind of city is this?
They're messing up. They're messing up whoever they are.
It actually, like, literally, I made a game in my head. I was like, let's see if I can find any, like, corners full of trash bags while I'm here. And I didn't find any.
Which is wild. I wonder what the population of Chicago is compared to New York City.
It's funny you say that because I looked it up.
Okay.
So Brooklyn, by itself, has about the same population as all of Chicago.
Okay, I figured that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, but Brooklyn's dirty. They still can't get it together over here. Sorry
about that. We had some technical difficulties here at Sad Studios, aka my apartment. Anyway, we were talking about Chicago and Brooklyn, like the population. So
right.
Basically, Brooklyn itself has almost the same population of Chicago, the whole city.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy.
It is.
But the other big thing that was crazy to me going over there is like, you know, they call them the Great Lakes. They weren't lying. I don't get how that's a lake. I really don't understand how that's not an ocean. Like I've been to the Dead Sea and I could see to the other side.
Yeah. I
went to Lake Michigan. It's like you can't see the other side. Like even on the plane, it's like you don't know where it ends.
Wow.
It's wild. And in my head, I was like, well, what makes this a lake? Is it because it's fresh water?
Yeah.
But what about Salt Lake? What about Salt Lake City?
Utah?
Yeah.
No, I think...
Why is that a lake if it's salt?
A lake is surrounded by a body of water on three sides. I believe that's what a lake is. Isn't that what a lake is?
No, that's a peninsula.
Well, no. Wait. A lake is surrounded... A lake is surrounded... by land and has like one opening. Isn't that what sorry, yeah, I flipped it inside out.
Yeah, I was like, is that what it is? That would make sense because I think all the Great Lakes connect to each other.
Yeah, it has to be surrounded by land and then have one mouth opening, and that's what makes it a lake.
Yeah.
And the river is like something that runs, and I think like it's like from a mountain, but I'm going too far in bodies of water. And then a pond. Yeah. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, the thing that's crazy, like the Dead Sea is a pond compared to the Great Lakes.
Wow.
Like it's like not even close. It's wild. So yeah, so it's clean there. I don't know. It was very interesting. It was a nice city, and the Midwest just feels nicer. People just feel nicer.
Interesting.
And I guess we should talk about music at some point, but this all gets to it, right?
Yeah.
This is all setting the stage. So, so I realized why Chicago became such a like hot spot for music. Because it has a lot to do with the railroad.
Okay.
So like for most of human history, right? Like if you wanted to move goods on like a really large scale, you would have to use ocean or like waterways, right? That's why for a long time New Orleans was such a big deal.
Yeah.
Because it controlled the mouth of the Mississippi River.
Yeah.
And from the Mississippi River, you had access to like the entire inland of the United States. So you could have this one city and basically control the entire heartland of America.
Yeah.
Back when you had to use water. But the thing that really, changed that was the railroad. So Chicago became a railroad hub. I don't know exactly why. I guess because it was at that point it was like kind of centralized in the country because like the West wasn't really developed yet.
Yeah.
So it was like kind of in the middle, and it was also on the Great Lakes, so it had water transportation as well. So Chicago became a big railroad hub.
Okay.
Like there was all these different trains that all met in Chicago. Like back in the day, if we wanted to go from here in New York and we wanted to go to LA or whatever, we would have to basically take a connecting train to Chicago.
Okay.
We'd have to go from New York to Chicago, and then from Chicago you can basically go anywhere.
Sounds good.
So about the music of Chicago, like the thing that stands out to me when I think of Chicago is Chicago blues. Right? That like the first thing.
Okay.
And I realized, like, thinking about the history of it, that the railroad was a big reason of why Chicago became such a blues spot.
Yeah.
Because back in the day, I don't know when the Great Migration was, like the years.
Yeah, I don't exactly remember. I mean, I could look it up, but it's definitely during like the swing era, the 40s, probably a little before that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, musically, I because I'm just thinking of like Dinah Washington and like those stars. So I'm thinking like the 30s, the 20s. That's when they really came out with the music. But
yeah,
I don't know about the Great Migration. I got C's in global studies. Okay, Dan, stop asking me about American history and things like that. No, I'm just kidding. I know a lot, but little things like the Great Migration, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't call it a little thing, but so I was looking up into it a little bit. So this is a crazy stat. I don't know if it's true.
Yeah.
They said that before the Great Migration, like 80% of the black population of America was in the South.
Yeah, we know that.
Yeah.
Definitely. But I don't know what the years are. I don't
know the years, but whatever. It doesn't really matter.
I really don't. You can say anything. Go for it.
But I realized that the railroad thing is a big part of it because people were leaving the South.
Yeah.
And they would just hop on a train, and guess where the trains ended?
Right, in the big cities, all the major
in Chicago.
Cities. Yeah, because that's like a nexus.
Yeah, literally all the railroads went to Chicago.
Yeah.
So like if you were just hopping anywhere, there was a very high chance that train would bring you to Chicago.
Awesome. That's pretty awesome. I mean, all you got to do is just grab your stick, stuff your red and white kerchief with lots of goods.
Yeah.
Right? Sling it on your back. And hop on a caboose, right?
And head up to the city.
Exactly. Sleep on some hay in the back there. Maybe brought some hay in a burlap bag.
You painted the picture over here.
It's time to move. It's time to go.
Yeah. So no, but it's kind of cool how it happened because it's like obviously blues music comes from the South.
Yes.
So then when everybody was leaving and so many people went to Chicago, they brought the blues like tradition with them. But the thing is, like in the South, there weren't like a lot of cities. Like, it was very like open. So you could just have an acoustic guitar and be singing and people could hear you.
Yes.
Like it wouldn't like you're on like a porch in your house somewhere, you know what I mean? But then when you go to Chicago, you're in a city now, and it's loud. So you can't just be playing acoustic guitars all the time and be heard by everyone.
Right.
So what do?
You get in the circuit, right? You try to get into the clubs and all those things, those little areas where they play music, right?
Well, yeah, but you electrify.
Oh.
Like the instruments.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you have to use an electric guitar to be heard.
Yeah.
over, like, if you're just on the street corner and you just have an acoustic guitar, I don't know, like.
So what are you saying? They didn't have electric guitars down south until the railroad?
No. I'm just saying there wasn't really a need to use it as much.
Okay.
Because it's like smaller groups of people, like you're in a quieter place. Like an acoustic guitar, you could just be strumming, it would fill up the whole room.
Yeah.
But if you're in Chicago, there's so much street noise, there's all this shit going on. It's like if you want to be heard over everybody, you maybe use an amplifier.
That's possible. It's a possibility, but you got horns and you got pianos.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, and then that was I know Quincy Jones moved up there, and that was part of like his thing. Like he came up on the Chitlin circuit.
Yeah.
And like he was like just playing the horns and stuff like that. So yeah, but yeah, I could see why you would like amplify, make your sound bigger, or make your personality or something even bigger too, right? Somebody's got to hear me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like it's like an industrialized version of the blues.
Yeah.
Right? Because Chicago was like an industrial city. I mean, it's not, as big as New York.
Right.
But there was obviously a lot of industry there. So it kind of like the city, like the industry of it kind of rubbed off on the music, which is when like the blues started getting electrified more. And that's such a big thing because we were talking about in the Zeppelin episode how like they considered themselves like, or the Stones were like sons of Howling Wolf and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, where was Howling Wolf playing his stuff?
Right.
That electric Chicago blues.
Yeah.
Definitely
Muddy Waters. Definitely moved up from the South into Chicago and then influenced like the Chicago blues sound.
Yeah.
That's crazy, right? Chicago was just waiting for all those people to come in there and change something about it.
Basically, yeah.
What's the line? Bring me your tired, your musical, your train riders.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that.
I'm pretty sure that's exactly what it is.
And we'll turn out a whole culture. I believe that's the end of the statement.
We'll change your whole city. We'll make it way better. I don't even know, like, we did some research. I don't know how far back you went, but, like, I don't know what Chicago music was like before that, really. That's basically where I started in my research.
Yeah. Well, I went back and I found, like, Swing, I found Muddy Waters, I found Benny Goodman, and I found Dinah Washington. Because those names I actually know. You know what I mean? And that's the 30s and the 40s. It's a time in life where I feel everybody looked good. Like, even, like, it doesn't even matter. Like, if you look at people's, like, pictures and stuff like that from before or after, and like I know there's some terrible things going on in the 40s, but if you look at their pictures before things like that happen, everybody was looking beautiful in the 40s, which is awesome. So Muddy Waters was actually born in 1913, and then he moved up into Chicago, but I mean he moved in the big band era time. That's what somebody's gonna correct me on this, but I'm gonna say
no, this is our podcast, everything we say is right.
But for
I don't care about your stupid books.
We don't care about it. But yeah, like there was a lot of influence, I would say, around that time. Like that's where the big sound came out. It's the 30s and the 40s.
Yeah.
So shout out to Muddy Waters, some songs that he had that we do know. Of course, we know Rolling Stone, we know Hoochie Coochie Man, we know Manish Boy, and stuff like that. It's so funny because I was watching the Aretha Franklin story on Nat Geo, which ended up being a better movie after all the complaints and all that. So that's when I was kind of like reintroduced to Dinah Washington. So when I was kind of doing the research for this podcast, I was like, oh wow, Dinah Washington again. So she was like a real pioneer in like the blues sound of Chicago as well. And that's another person that moved up from the South and came up. And like, if we don't know, like, I mean, because that style of music is not huge now, right? So if you don't know Dinah Washington, she influenced Aretha Franklin, so Aretha Franklin would be sleeping upstairs in her own bedroom and her father would have parties on Saturday nights and Dinah Washington would be singing at the party.
Yeah.
So it was like something great like that, so seeing her name pop up is like a really, really cool thing. And people like Sam Cooke wasn't born in Chicago, but they say he's from Chicago because he relocated there when he was like really, really young.
Right.
And that's another huge name in music and R&B, still influencing people to this day.
Absolutely.
And such a resonant sound, right? Like when you hear him sing, it's just like everybody kind of like picks up their ear, like, oh man, like this man is going to touch inside. So it's really cool how vast like the Chicago talent is, and I haven't even like touched.
Yeah, we got a lot to go through.
Yeah, like it's insane.
This may be a long one. Strap up, people. Yeah, but it's fun. So I was telling you, I didn't really get into it, but I had a theory of why Chicago is more of a blues town than New York is.
Okay, go for it.
So this is just, again, I was only in downtown. I didn't see all of Chicago, so I don't know what, the different feels of different neighborhoods and stuff.
Yeah.
But it just seems so much nicer there. And here's the thing. We talked about this before. Like, in New York, it's like, nobody cares. Everyone's got shit to do.
Yeah.
So I feel like, I'm trying to think of a way to say this without just making New York just seem like a terrible place. But I feel like...
Well...
What it is? No, so I feel like for me, like, if somebody's like in New York, like singing about their problems and their trials, people are just less likely to stop and care.
Yeah,
it's gonna be more like, hey, you blocking the sidewalk.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like,
get a job.
Yeah, shit like that. Like, I feel like everybody's just so like hustle and bustle. It's like people aren't as likely to stop and actually like listen to somebody's story or like try to like understand who they are or like what are those things. But Chicago, like I said, it's a lot smaller.
Yeah.
And it has like a more kindness to it. It's not as gritty. It's not as like hard nosed, it feels like.
Yeah.
So I feel like in Chicago, if you're singing the same song, like, oh, whatever it is, woke up this morning, I couldn't see a thing. It would be like, oh, what happened? You know what I mean? In New York, they'd be like, we'll get some fucking glasses. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I feel like people in Chicago would actually like want to hear it more. Like, which is a good thing. I just compliment to the city of Chicago, really, and like the Midwest, I guess.
Yeah.
I feel like that is a big reason why it was able to take root more.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's just me saying this after one time being in Chicago, so I could be totally wrong.
I mean, it's just interesting. It's just like I also, it's not like I forget that it's in the Midwest. It's definitely another time zone, and it's definitely not on the East Coast. But so much of Chicago is paired with New York that I like leave out that it's the Midwest, and that most likely does have a lot to do with it being like a quote unquote nicer place, or the people being a little bit nicer. It's like it's the surrounding states, or something like that. Like our surrounding states, we got Jersey, so we don't have anybody to tell us it's not okay to be that mean. We have people that egg us on, like Jersey. No, I'm just kidding.
Fucking Jersey. America's armpit. I have family from Jersey. It's okay. I can say that.
Exactly. And
I can talk about how shitty Jersey is.
So do I. Shout out to everybody in East Orange. Whatchamacallit.
Can I tell you a quick story?
Yes.
I've been watching too many comedy podcasts. And like just consuming too much comedy content, because I'm just starting to like say wild shit and like not realizing that people don't know that I'm joking sometimes.
Oh man.
So let me just tell you the story, because all right, so the first night that we got there was like it was like a Mexican Independence Day parade.
Okay.
And it was wild. Like they shut the city down.
Oh really?
Like literally, like we had to, like we got an Uber. We were going back to the hotel. They had to drop us off like 8 blocks from the hotel.
Wait a minute. They could have parades over there?
I don't know how sanctioned this was.
Okay.
This is what I'm. It was just a bunch of trucks with a bunch of Mexican flags, bumping music. They were lighting off fireworks in the middle of a street, downtown, like right next to the river. And I'm literally saying, like, we got an Uber, and they had to drop us off like 8 blocks from the hotel. Like it was like it's all shut down. Like all the bridges over the river were all shut down.
Whoa!
For like Mexican Independence Day, they were just going crazy. Okay. Especially because like they didn't have it for like the past 2 years because of COVID. Right. So I feel like they were trying to make up for it. So we were in the Uber, and we were talking about it, and we're like, oh, it looks like they're having fun. And the Uber driver's like, yeah, well, that's no excuse to be an asshole or something like that. Uh-huh. And I was just totally joking. I was like, well, hey, isn't that the point of being Mexican? Hey. Like, clearly as a joke.
Yeah.
Clearly as a joke. And my dad and my sister were like, oh, Daniel. I'm like, no. It could have been any parade. It could have been anybody. That guy threw me an alley-oop.
Yeah.
And I dunked it. That's all that happened. It could have been, if he was Mexican, I would have said the same thing. You know what I mean? And I was just like, fuck, I gotta watch what I say. Like, I feel like it's okay to talk about it here because it's a podcast and people know that we're joking and that we're maniacs.
Right.
But I was like, damn, that was just regular life. Yeah. I was like, I gotta fucking just not talk and that's so much. I don't know. I was like, it's a joke. They're like, it wasn't funny.
Oh, man.
I'm like, all right. I'm like, all right, bye.
We've got a different climate. It's a different climate now. Can't make jokes anymore.
Yeah, but no, they were having a great time. I was having a good time. They were bumping music. I was like, hey, this is a party out here. Sure. The whole block. It literally was like multiple block party. Like, it was wild.
I believe it. I'm sure the food was slamming.
I didn't have any.
Oh,
I should have.
You were in the Uber.
Yeah, but we still had to walk through it all.
Oh, yeah, you should have grabbed a flauta.
I should have got some. I was just more like, wow, this is crazy. They were literally lighting off fireworks in the middle of a street.
That's crazy. You can't do that here.
I don't think there was. I don't think any of that was supposed to be going down like that. I don't think you
can do it anywhere. Yeah, except down south.
Well, it's funny because I was talking to my parents who were like, "Oh my god, like I can't believe they allowed that to happen." And I'm just like, "Do you see all these people? I don't think the cops want this heat." Like, it was so many people. I'm like, what are you really gonna do at some point?
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's what's our podcast called again?
Music Maniacs.
Right, so music. That's what I was going to talk about. Unfortunately, I didn't really catch much like live music while I was there.
Yeah.
But Rufus Wainwright was playing a show.
I saw the signage when you posted it. Yeah. I saw that. That was great. That was great to see.
Shout out to Rufus Wainwright.
I feel like we're on a wave somehow, right? Like, of all people, you go, right? Like, It's just weird.
I was like, no way.
Yeah.
I would have gone to see him if we had longer, but it was because he was there like the day after I left.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway.
He did that on purpose because he was like, I don't want to see Dan. So
yeah, he's like, fuck that guy. He doesn't like my songs enough in his reactions. Nah, he seems like a good guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just crazy, like the influence, like just still talking about like that era and like the electric blues and like stuff like that. Like it's such a clear line between like that to Zeppelin to music today.
Yeah.
With the rock, with blues, with R&B, with like all of it. And so much of it happened in Chicago. And that's not even talking about the fact that Chicago invented house music.
Yeah, like that's just crazy.
Yeah.
I'm still blown away by that.
Yeah, isn't that wild?
Yeah, and I think I'm really being an ignorant New Yorker about this. Like, I'm still blown. Like, how? Like, our clubs was popping with house music.
I don't believe it.
You know what I mean? We dominated the house scene over here. How the hell did it start over there?
Yeah, no, I just think it's so interesting because it is just like a little... It's just a hub. It's just really a hub of culture for the Midwest. Like, it is the biggest city in the Midwest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It is like... I guess it's corny to say it's the New York of the Midwest, but like it really kind of is. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like just so many different things like kind of coalesce there.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, what leads us to all this great music.
Absolutely great music. I mean, we could have done a whole podcast just on the 30s and the 40s era because we can go in like Betty and Goodman, the big band, like all, you know, and who obviously influenced bands like Chicago.
Right.
You know, like
right.
it just seems like that's the town with the big sound. How about that? You know, it seems huge, you know, and I know there's a Chicago blues sound compared to a Detroit blues. I kind of used to mesh those together in a way because I can see how metal came out of the Detroit blues sound too and the Chicago sound. But the connection, the soul rock connection definitely is in Chicago. Like that.
100%.
That together. Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah. Like it's like actually like clicking now at this moment. Like I could see it. Like, yeah, I could see like, you know, let's pick a soul rock group. Let's pick something. Like we'll pick Earth, Wind and Fire, right?
Okay.
And then we'll pick three. We'll pick Earth, Wind and Fire, and we'll just pick the Stones, those two. Like you really see the soul and the rock together. Like you see why.
Wait, where's Earth, Wind and Fire from?
Chicago.
I was like, wait, yeah, I was gonna say like, oh yeah, and they're Chicago, but I was gonna feel really dumb if they weren't. But I was like 90% sure. Yeah, that's a great example. example.
Right?
That's
crazy.
Perfect example.
Yeah, you see the mesh of it. You see why people approach their music the way they do, their rock music or their funk music the way they do, right? Because Earth, Wind, and Fire can approach their R&B funk in a rock way, and then you'll have the Stones approach their rock music in a soul way. Like, you know, it's crazy. It's
what about Chicago the band?
Dun, dun, dun.
Because they definitely fit into that too, and obviously, like us talking about it now, I'm starting to see that more as well,
right? So
because they had the horns.
Yes,
the Chicago was like a heavy horn scene. You know, they had all that, and then obviously they had the rock.
Yeah,
and Chicago the band, which is funny because we have to clarify. They kind of melded all that as well.
Yeah, because you had two different voices. You had Terry's soul voice.
Sorry about that. Basically, our lives are just falling apart. No big deal. But we're back. Hopefully, you're still here. They're like, yo, these guys don't even know how to press record. What's wrong with it? I thought they were musicians.
We're maniacs.
Yeah, this episode is a little more maniac than the last few. But what was we were talking about Chicago, the band.
Yeah, and Terry's voice and Peter's voice together with like Terry's guitar and the horns, right? It's all rock soul with a little bit of big band, like, right?
Yeah.
That's crazy. So we got, we're going to call...
That's why they just called themselves that.
We're just going to call it Chicago. Yeah. I wish we could call them up and ask them. Be like, Peter, we got it.
Hey, is this what happened?
Hey, Mrs. Cetera, we need to talk to you.
Well, I know they originally started as the Chicago Transit Authority.
Oh.
And then the actual, because that's like the MTA of Chicago.
Yeah.
And then they were actually, the actual Chicago Transit Authority was like, you can't just use our name.
No, you can't.
So then they just shortened it to Chicago.
Well, I'm glad they shortened it because the Chicago Transit Authority sounds like they have red and white striped jackets. And it sounds like a barbershop quartet. Like, it's ridiculous.
Oh, that's funny. I feel like they probably could have pulled off like a barbershop quartet because don't most of them sing?
Yeah.
Well, not the horn players.
I want a girl.
That would have been... What if they just did like one barbershop quartet album? That would be amazing.
I can't stop laughing. It's like, you must want eggs thrown at you with that name.
I prefer tomatoes. But yeah, so they kick ass, and they basically, they melded a lot of the different sounds of the shitty of Chicago. Was that a Freudian slip?
You hate it there.
I really like Chicago, actually. I feel like they just melded a lot of the sounds of the city, which, I didn't even really think about until now that we're talking about it. So that's really cool to see.
That makes a lot of sense, and they did it well. We have a patron who would say no, but we're going to say they did it.
Yeah. Check out our Side After Dark channel and Patreon if you haven't. Check out our Music Maniacs Patreon if you want to help support this to keep happening.
Yeah.
Because this is a lot of work, and obviously our shit is falling apart. But it's all good because we're having a fun time. Okay, so...
Yeah.
So where are we at? So we're in like 60s now. Yeah,
60s and 70s, and that's pretty much Earth, Wind, and Fire. That's like coming into and the Shylights.
Would you say that? I just thought of this right now. Is Chicago like the white Earth, Wind, and Fire?
That's possible.
Or vice versa, whatever how you want to say it.
It's possible. It's definitely. I just can't see Philip Bailey and the gang and Maurice and them being anti, like saying like, oh, you know, if you don't want to hear them, listen to us. I feel like they would say, listen to all of us together. So I don't know if they're the white version. I feel like they're just all part of the sound.
I'm just connecting. I'm just trying to make too many Chicago connections.
It was like this. This is what happened. They were all sitting around in a room, right? Because they all know each other from like music school and stuff, right? So everybody from
I heard
Earth,
they were
Wind,
all born
Fire,
in the same hospital.
Exactly. They all know each other, right?
Yeah.
So at the Music Hub, they were like, okay, guys, we're picking names for bands and stuff like that since we're all from the city of Chicago. And then Peter and Terry go, Chicago, that's our name. And then Earth, Wind, and Fire was like, we wanted to pick that. And they were like, no, we are Chicago. We encompass the city. And then Earth, Wind, and Fire was like, what's better than Chicago?
Well, we encompass the elements, motherfucker.
Exactly.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah, that's the official story. Shout out to Earth, Wind, and Fire. Oh, that would be so funny. What if they all did know each other? I'm scared. Like, how many of them actually do know each other, though?
It's most likely that, right, that they do know each other. Like, I mean, I'm just jumping to a whole nother genre, a whole nother side of the globe. But I remember watching Jack Osborne on somebody's talk show, and he was talking about how his father couldn't find something in the house, and it was like midnight, and he just like called Robert Plant. It was like, Rob, I can't find my blah, blah, blah. So I just put that.
Robert's like, what do you want me to do?
And that's exactly what Jack said. Jack was like, Robert Plant was like, what do you want me to do about that?
Yeah.
But like, so I just put it like that. Like all the cool musicians from the same era, you know, that are in your playlist, they actually know each other. They talk to each other while they're in your playlist.
Yeah, they'll probably gravitate towards each other.
Yeah.
But now I feel like I'm getting a better idea. This is so interesting because I feel like as we're talking about this, we're both like kind of understanding it more.
Yeah.
I feel like this kind of gives me a better idea of house music as well.
Okay.
Because you have all this great music, and then the house music was like late 70s. I feel like around the same time that hip hop was starting.
Yes.
Right? So that was all about samples and like breakbeats and stuff. Mm-hmm. So I feel like house music, and again, I could be totally wrong, but I'm going to act like I'm right every time. So what probably this is definitely what happened. Some people, they were like dealing with like the breakbeats and of records and stuff, and instead of like rapping over it, they just like made it like dancey.
Yeah.
They just turned it into dance music.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like taking the same concept and just like splitting in different directions with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just have Pump Up the Jam playing in the back of my head while you're talking, so I'm hearing do 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 do.
You just need a solid bass drum, 4 on the floor.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I can see that, but still at the same time, I'm just like, whoa. Like, whoever, I know house music has just a beat, and I know that a lot of it is pretty repetitious, but there was a huge house music culture with like dancing ciphers and stuff like that. There was a lot less violence, at least, I mean, here with the house music crowd. That wasn't the gangster rap crowd. They were more the conscious kids. Exactly.
Yeah.
And if they didn't like each other and stuff, they battle danced each other. They weren't like knifing each other and stuff like that. Like, because it was knives in the 70s.
You got beef? Meet me on the dance floor.
That's right. Just like a Michael Jackson video. Okay, so it's just like that.
And, well, I mean, never mind. I mean, the Jacksons are from near Chicago.
Yeah, they're from Indiana, so they're Midwesterners as well.
Gary, Indiana. I think it's like actually very close to Chicago.
Yes,
it's
I think
on the
Illinois and Indiana. I think when I was memorizing the states as a child, I remember they were together.
Yeah. Oh, we got to do a Motown episode sometime.
Oh, definitely. And that's Detroit, so we can bring a lot of people out of Detroit too, because even like Jack White is from Detroit, and so we can definitely do one like that. Madonna, Eminem.
Well, that's a good segue into some more Chicago artists, because now, like, talking about like rock music, like it's so interesting because like you think of like 90s rock. Yeah. For me, I think of like Seattle a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But like one of the biggest bands from the 90s is
Smashing Pumpkins.
And where are they from?
Chicago.
Yeah.
So Billy, nobody's fucking with Billy, right?
No, you know about it? You know about it, like his dad and shit? His dad was like a drug dealer, like criminal, like in and out of prison.
I thought Billy was just a sweet, sensitive guy until I found out he dated Courtney Love, and I was like, Billy is kind of hardcore. But now I'm finding out Billy's from Chicago.
He's from Chicago. I saw him on a podcast once. He used to party with the Chicago Bulls and shit.
Really?
Like, Dennis Rodman's fucking wild.
Yes.
And he would just like leave practice and go to Vegas.
Yeah.
And just like come back like an hour before a game.
Yeah.
And he would bring fucking Billy with him. And Billy was telling the story. I think it was on Joe Rogan's podcast. He was like, one time they came in late with Dennis and fucking, Phil Jackson.
Yeah.
He literally like cursed out Billy. He was like, "Why you taking him away and shit? We need Dennis." And they're just partying and having a good old time.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, like I feel like Smashing Pumpkins definitely had a defining role in like 90s alternative rock.
Absolutely. It's one of my favorite bands of that time.
100%.
Absolutely. That was, oh my gosh, they were so great. And then I love when bands kind of stay true to themselves, so you can find them like 20, 30 years later and they still what I'm saying? So it just solidifies who they were back then even more.
Right.
I feel them, and because they're they're definitely one of the defining bands. They're not one of the quieter bands. Like, like, okay, well, you can say like Radiohead doesn't, like, they're famous, but they like are not into their fame.
Nah.
So to me, they're one of the defining bands of that time too, but they're one of the quieter bands in a way because, like, you know what I mean? Because they kind of stayed out of like the whole mix and the blend. Like, those guys were family men and stuff like that. But like Smashing Pumpkins is somewhere in between that. They're somewhere in where Radiohead is and where like Nirvana like was, like, for like defining the times and stuff, and GNR and all those people too. So they kind of like tread a nice path in the midst of that, and I'm glad to see them on the other side, which is like
they made it.
Yeah, they made it. They're what my mother would call, they're big old men now, and women. They're big old men now, so they made it to the other side. Nobody died, like, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah, so shout out to all those people that smash pumpkins.
Yes,
they're good.
Yeah. Well, it's are we staying on rock, or you want to jump?
We do. Hey, this is our podcast.
That's right.
We say right in the title that we're fucking maniacs, so we could just talk about fucking, I don't know, you want to talk about South America? You talk about whatever.
We want to talk about South Chicagoans. Let's talk about the South Side. Obama. No, I'm just kidding. No.
No, we can talk about whatever. Where do you want to take it?
I wanted to jump back to R&B before we got too later in the decades, because the Shy-Lights come from Chicago. So that is, oh girl, I'll be in trouble if you left me now. Everybody knows that one.
That's a classic.
I don't know. And there's other ones that they sang. I wanted to go in my phone, but then I don't, because I should know all these songs that they sing. But I could sing them to you. But whatchamacallit? Yeah, the Shy-Lights had so many different songs. It was Oh Girl. It was a lot more.
Fuck, I can't remember. What was the name of that big Chicago record label? There was like a record label that had a lot of these people on it.
Oh.
I can't remember. Was it like Tower Records or something?
No, it can't be Tower Records.
Wait, what? Tower Records was something, though, with Chicago.
Really?
I think so. Am I
Or
just
was it called the
wrong?
Tower of Sound? Did they have that?
Like a bunch of speakers, like a tower of speakers.
I think so. My phone is playing the crap out of me right now. Okay, Have You Seen Her? Thank you. I'm like, Have You Seen Her is a Shy-Lights song. And I'm like, I know there's songs I could sing them all to you, and I didn't want to leave this song out, because everybody knows this song, right? Have you seen her? Tell me, have you seen her? Yeah, so there's that. Those two I really wanted to mention, and there's so many other artists, but I really wanted to put that one down as one of the main people, because I actually grew up on that kind of music, and pretty much everybody did, because everybody knows that song.
That's true. That's just one of those things. It's like you might not even know where it came from or who it was, but you've heard it.
Yes.
You have 100% heard that.
Yes. And these people are proud of their city. Like, imagine, we didn't put New York in our band name. You know what I'm saying? We were like, fuck that place.
I don't know. I feel like if you did that, it would be like pretentious almost.
Yeah.
Like, we're New York. Really? You're New York.
Right. We're actually the New York Giants. How about that? No one's taken that name, or no one does good with that name, so we can take it. Just kidding.
Unless you're Eli Manning.
Shout out to Eli Manning. Just kidding, guys. Y'all are from Jersey anyway, but just kidding.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, fuck Jersey. Kidding. Yeah, and then so we haven't even really touched like hip hop yet. But before we really got into this, and we were looking into things, and like I'm trying to think in my head, like, oh, like which of these people are Chicago people that I know? Mm-hmm. If you were to tell me like 5 years ago, like if you were to ask me, who do you think of when you think of Chicago music? Who do you think I would say?
Kanye, of course.
Kanye, motherfucking West.
Yeah.
And we could easily do a whole episode on Kanye. I mean, he's just full of fucking things to talk about. But not to get into like really dive deep into it. But this is the thing about Kanye. It's like with older people and like people that don't really listen to like hip hop music or like rap music.
Yeah.
I understand why they couldn't maybe just not like him.
Yeah.
Because they might not understand why he's so fucking good. Like why he's I mean, I call him a musical genius for sure. But if you don't understand like hip hop, you don't listen to hip hop, and you just hear like the crazy shit that he does and he says, you're not gonna think, oh, this is a musical, prodigy or whatever. But like as a person, like I guess our age, to not say that Kanye is a musical genius, there's either one of two things happening. I think either you don't know shit about music, or you're a hater.
Yeah.
I really I don't really see any other option. It's like he's clearly a great musician.
Yeah, he's really good. He's interested in the music. He loves the music, and you can tell. He started out on college campuses mixing tapes for his parties, and that guy's dedicated. Like I mean, they make movies like that, like of like somebody just in the crates trying to become like a huge DJ, and like you see all their tapes and all their music and how feverish they are about like their music and how much of a fanatic they are and stuff like that. Just him being like the college DJ puts him all the way up there before he even got up there. Like,
he lives the music.
Yeah.
It's fun. When you were saying that, you know what I was thinking? Like what I was seeing in my head when you were talking about all the crates, I was thinking about Straight Outta Compton, the movie.
Yes.
How it starts out with literally just Dre, like headphones and just like all these records around him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, like we're talking about the same kind of thing. Like that's the same kind of drive and like love of music that is going to bring somebody to those heights.
Absolutely. Like, I mean, Kanye was making hits and people didn't even know who he was. I was watching this show. 50 Cent has a new show called Raising Kanan, and the season 10 finale was at the end, and they played a song that Kanye sampled for a Jay-Z record that was like made in the early 2000s. I know you guys would know it if I just go like doom 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 doom.
That was on the 2K soundtrack.
Right, so we know it.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, very easy sample to find with your ears.
Shout out to 2K13.
Yes, and
my name is Ho.
Thank you. To me, that was like Jay-Z had a great time before that in the late 90s. He had an album that like there's songs that I just memorized. Like I needed to know every word. But like right around then when Kanye became like his producer, like songs like that, and then and then there was another one that was just like it that Funkmaster Flex used to play like every weekend, and you just heard like the dedication in that song. For somebody like me who Jay-Z's not even necessarily my top 5 dead or alive, you know what I'm saying, but I shout him out like and give him all types of respect. One, because he's from Brooklyn and we just have a code over here, we're supposed to do that.
My top 1 through 5 is all Biggie. Biggie 1, Biggie 2, Biggie 3, Biggie 4, and number 5 is Christopher Wallace.
No Frank White?
He's 6.
Okay. So it's that song, and then there's another one. It's like the sample is like, you don't know what you do to me,
but it's all high.
Yeah. And that one, like those, and I know Kanye produced that, but I remember like wanting to hear those songs on repeat, and I remember those songs like being like the driving force of us driving on the FDR or something like that, or wanting to hang out on the weekend, and that's like Kanye's production. Like that was like, man, how do you call it? I don't know, but it was a force in the city. It was like a musical beat that we were all kind of on around that time. And it's like Kanye West is responsible for it.
Well, you know what's wild is it's like it starts like that,
yeah,
and then that becomes a wave that's the whole world.
Interesting.
Because Kanye is one of the biggest artists ever at this point.
Ever, yeah. Guaranteed.
The world.
Guaranteed.
Period.
Guaranteed.
Yeah. One last thing I want to say about Kanye, like this is what helped me realize, like what you were saying, and like how he's digging in the crates of like all kinds of shit.
Yeah.
Because like I feel like a lot of rap music, when it samples, it's a lot of it like funk or like an R&B, like an old school or like a Motown kind of thing.
Yes.
But I remember listening to what was that song, Takeover, and they sampled The Doors.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I'm not saying necessarily, you should just take all these great artists, but just the fact that I know that he's listening to The Doors.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, and it was a great beat. Like, I mean, I have an issue with the song itself because
that was when he was talking shit with Nas, right?
Yeah, and it's not, and I'm not a Nas stan either. I mean, he could be probably in my top 5 dead or alive, but it was my issue is with Prodigy, because Prodigy is in my top 5 dead or alive, and I'm just like, Jay-Z, stop. Like you have to like
chill out.
You know what I mean? You got to find somebody's. He had to find Prodigy's baby picture. That's the only way you're gonna take him out. You had to find his baby picture with his grandmother. Put him in a ballet class. Like you couldn't take him out lyrically. So it's like I have an issue with that song, but it's a great production and it's a great. It's
just
great.
just as a beat, like as a hip hop beat.
Yeah,
that's a great beat.
Yeah,
and like that's what I said. Like we talked about this before. We'll definitely do a Doors episode at some point.
Yeah,
the Doors are the first like musical artists that I was like a fan of. Like literally, the Doors opened my mind to literally all music because before then I like music was just like background to me. I didn't really think about it like consciously until I heard the Doors. So when I was listening to Kanye years later, well I guess technically Jay-Z, but I knew that Kanye produced it, and I heard the Doors, I was just like, oh, like he just fucks with music, period. Yeah. Like he's not trying to stay in a specific thing. Like he just knows good music and he's going to make good music.
Yeah.
And I've respected him so much, like ever since that.
Absolutely. Shout out to Kanye in regards to that. Yeah, that's cool. Who else and what else could we mention? I mean, there's so many other artists. I mean, well, we're in rap and R&B, right? So we'd be amiss if we didn't mention the R, right?
Who? I don't know who you're talking about.
We do have a King of Soul, which I just read. Before we even go to the R, the King of Soul, I did not know, is Sam Cooke. I did not know that. He actually holds that title down. And Sam Cooke is another transplant from another state that was relocated into Chicago.
This is definitely more Maniac than music. But can we talk about another transplant real quick?
Who?
That came from New York. And went to Chicago.
Yes, we can.
In the 20s.
The one and only
Alfonso Capone. Related to the Corleones. Maybe. But isn't that why, like, I want to think of how I'm going to say this without coming off rude to the Chicago people. It's like, you need the New Yorkers to make your shit. like Al Capone was one of the biggest Chicago figures. And literally, I was actually, when I got back from Chicago, I watched a documentary on Al Capone. And like, before he got there, there obviously was bootlegging and, illegal things going on.
Yes.
But Al Capone basically moved out there and he was just like, all right, we're turning this into a business. We're making this big business. And he was the fucking head of the cartel, basically.
Yes.
Like, I mean, back in Prohibition, like, if you're running alcohol, like, that's a cartel.
Yeah.
He was the fucking head of it.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. It's crazy. I could see why... before I used to be like, oh, wow, like you're born in Coney Island, you're going to go all the way to Chicago. But I can see why somebody in Coney Island wants to get out of Coney Island. It's all the way south, like Brooklyn. Yeah. And you probably don't know much. You got people in Coney Island that don't even go to Manhattan, like at all. So he probably got his opportunity and he's probably like, I'm out of here. And Coney Island is also one of those places where it's like, a lot of big personalities come out of there, like, and I don't know if it's because it's kind of gated.
You got to compete with the Ferris wheel.
Yeah, well, it's the main attraction over there. And it's like kind of gated. And I feel like the people in Coney Island, they have so much energy and they're like gated in. And once they get out, they like burst out. And I feel like that's how Al Capone did.
Interesting. So it's like he just needed to break through.
Yes, he needed to get out of there.
Yeah. Well, what do you think... That's interesting because that's kind of like the same time as we're talking about people migrating to Chicago as well.
Yeah.
Do you think like, obviously I wasn't there at the time. This is way before we were born. But if Chicago was like such a hub of like alcohol at the time, it must have been almost like a Wild West kind of feeling.
Yeah.
That must have affected the music a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like all of these things kind of coalescing at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's got to have some kind of effect.
Yeah.
Or even like the crime that results because of that.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, well, the swing music came out of there, which is amazing to me because like that's one of the best times in American culture. Men and women were actually dancing with each other. Yeah. Like I love that. Like, you know what I mean? And then dancing well enough. Like people were doing gymnastics, like, you know what I mean, at the club. It's just like they learned that from like, you know what I mean, climbing trees basically. And you know what I mean? Like their lives were less industrial at that time. So a lot of flipping, cartwheels, all those things like that. Well, they knew how to do it because they were just jumping, climbing everywhere. So it's crazy that sound came out of Chicago, but with the gangland culture, I can hear that big old sound coming out of that culture with the horns and the crashes and the bangs and the booms and the this and the that. Like, you can see it coming out. I feel like there's a hair in my nose. Like, it's tickling me.
You know what I just thought of when you were saying that?
What?
If you're Al Capone and you're a big time mob guy, you need some big time music to go with you.
Yeah, it's like, I feel like it all comes together. Like,
it's like what is it? It's what's the word I'm looking for? Not opulence, but like extravagance.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're Al Capone, you got all this money, you're doing all these things. You need like a big sound to go with it.
Yes. Yeah. I feel like that. Like bam, 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 like huge, like bang, crash. You know, America's doing well. Like, you know, it's on its way to start doing well. Like all the things we weren't. Well, we got, I was gonna say all the things we weren't worried about. We worried about them. We're not worried about them now. But like, people have running water now. Like, you know what I'm saying? They have electricity. Like, you know what I'm saying? Women are wearing stockings and pearls, and not everybody can afford them, but some of the poor people can afford them now too. It's like, it's a quote unquote good time. Like, you know what I'm saying? The blacks aren't enslaved anymore. Now they can afford shit now too. Like, you know what I mean? They can get a car. Like, you know, so it's a kind of a good time for everybody. So it's loud and it's boisterous and stuff like that with the gangland culture.
It's the Roaring 20s.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
did we just crack the code?
I think we're cracking codes here.
We just cracked the code of the city of Chicago. Sight After Dark, new foremost Chicago experts in the world. You heard it here first.
Whatchamacallit? Oh, just a little segue. I said I was going to mention this. I knew a kid in my Italian class who was related to Frank Nitti from the whole Untouchables culture. And Frank Nitti did not die falling off of a building into a car. He was not pushed by Elliot Ness into a car. Okay, that's Hollywood. The man
He was pushed by Robert De Niro.
Exactly.
I thought that was pretty well known, but
now you think about that when he beats the rap, because it looks like he beat the rap.
Oh man.
Yeah. That's about it. But I wanted to mention other artists from Chicago. Like, I didn't listen to this artist growing up. Obviously, like, most likely my mom did. It's Rufus and Shaka Khan. They came.
I know Shaka Khan. I don't really know.
Right, but the whole group was Rufus and Shaka Khan at one point. So that's pretty interesting. I don't listen to Jennifer Hudson, but she's from out there. Twista. We know Twista's from there.
Yeah.
Because he was on that Kanye song, and now it makes sense. Of course, Common is from there. Herbie Hancock is from there. Another genius.
He makes some amazing music.
Yeah.
And I didn't really listen to like jazz and shit until like a couple years ago. Like, I started listening to like Miles Davis, and then through that I like went into Herbie Hancock. I'm like, damn, this guy's, man. That's just the kind of thing you just put on and you just feel good.
And I when I clicked on him to look at, he started out with the Donald Byrd orchestra, and Donald Byrd, they mentioned him in one of our reaction videos, but
the Blackbirds?
No. Yes. Right? Yes. And Donald Byrd is the same one that did Wind Parade. And I think I put that in the comments, like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that it was Wind Parade Donald Byrd. So Herbie Hancock started with him. You see, it's like all like a family in a way. It's like they do kind of know each other, all of them. The Shylights, Lupe Fiasco. We said Benny Goodman. Styx is from Chicago.
Oh, mama, I'm in fear for my life from the long arm of the law.
Awesome.
Yeah.
My sister would want me to say Richard Marx is from Chicago, who was a slow singer from back in the 90s. He sang a lot.
If you're wondering why I'm not looking up anything on my phone, it's because we're recording the video with my phone, because this is a very homemade operation. Don't get it twisted.
The Brat is from Chicago. Shout out to the Brat. So we're going to get to the R. All right. So R. Kelly's from Chicago.
Has he done anything recently?
He's definitely been in the news. But this is what celebrities do now. And we're kind of on that trend, too. We musicians don't make music anymore. They are involved in social media. Right? No, we're going to make music. Fuck that. We make music. It's
so funny. That's actually a very interesting conversation. Yeah. Obviously, we're still working on music.
Yeah.
But like, because I feel like it's very rare that a musician can just do music now and be really big.
Yeah.
Like, you have to have other things going around. You have to have, like, a whole content thing. You have to be a personality.
Yeah.
For really, like, I feel like right now, like, the biggest artist who just is about the music is probably, like, Tame Impala.
Yeah.
Because Tame Impala's music is so good that all you got to do is put it out.
Right.
Like, I don't really know anything about him.
I love artists like that. I'm a Bjork fan, you know that. So that's why I love the anonymity of the hugeness of you, you know, because that's genius artwork, you know, both of them, Tame and Bjork. And it's great music. So it's not like, oh, you know, we don't want to know their personality or anything. It would be great if we did, but we don't necessarily need to, because all the information we need is in your record.
It should be.
Yeah, because you're the singer. I don't care if your boyfriend cheated on you. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
well, it makes you think of a J. Cole line, actually. He's like, I thought the music would speak for itself, but the people want everything else.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn.
It's a shame.
Yeah. But that's a good, talking about R. Kelly. So it's a convo that, like, I feel like comes up a lot recently. Of, like, how, like, can you separate the artist from the art? I don't know.
Like,
well, think about this. We just did an episode about Led Zeppelin and Jimmy Page, and I don't think he was married to a 14-year-old, but he was with a 14-year-old.
Yeah.
And people know about it, but people aren't talking about him now like a pervert that should be in jail.
No, nobody's talking about him like that. But I'm guaranteeing that girl was allowed to use the bathroom when she asked. I'm guaranteeing. And I'm going to guarantee she wasn't punched in the face or anywhere else.
I was trying, in my head, I'm not quick enough, but I was wanting to make a joke about R. Kelly only being able to use the bathroom if it was on somebody. There's a joke in there somewhere. I couldn't figure it out.
And you know what else it is about that too? It's like a lot of us actually saw the video. Like, I saw it.
I didn't. I just saw the Chappelle video making fun of it.
But it's like when you see the video, it's worse. It's worse because you get to see him, not the singer and not the image. You get to see the
just
pervert.
him as a person.
Yeah. So it's like it starts and he sits down and he's like adjusting the camera and he's fixing it and he's setting himself up and like he's just a weirdo. And he's got a nervous energy on him. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's skeevy. He's like, because this is just for him. It's not for us. Like, you know what I'm saying? So he's being himself. And that's I
feel nervous energy just hearing this.
Thank you. You know, it's like, you know, I understand some people are fans and stuff like that. And they're like, oh, that, you know, were you there? I saw somebody ask that question, like, were you there? She asked that to somebody else and he was like, no, but his camera was there.
I was there.
Like, the video camera was there.
I was in the next room. I just went to the bathroom though, because I don't know, she didn't like me that much.
But it's just like, you know, and
I don't
it's
know
like,
what I'm saying.
From what I understood, look, it's against like the law to be with an underage person. You know, in some places people could marry off their kids and stuff like that. Some people come from broken homes. Some kids sneak out and they want to go see a rock star and they want to go sleep with him. I'm not saying anything really for or against that. You know what I'm saying? Because that's part of music. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's part of it. The groupie, the young girl, the naivete of a young girl too. Like how like girls think is like, oh, like, you know what I'm saying? And they're not thinking about him, the man being 30 and them being like 14 years old. They just know they want to be with him. Like, you know what I mean? So they're not thinking about that either. So I'm not saying that stuff doesn't happen, but when you piss on a girl and you video it, you know what I'm saying? When you beat up a little girl, you know, when you prevent her from using the bathroom, you know what I'm saying?
It's just all bad.
Exactly.
I mean, you should be in jail, 100%.
Yeah, like you know what I'm saying? There's a difference. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I guarantee if he had treated those girls really right, nobody would have told on him. Nobody, because they would have been happy to be there. Look at Hafner's harem and all the women that talk about Zeppelin like 30 years later. They're adults now, and they knew they were children, you know, and they're like, they still got love for those guys because they treated them right. And I'm not saying that, you know, the whole pedophilia part of it, you know what I'm saying, is you know, but I'm saying it happens. So yeah, I honestly feel like that's the difference, because you can't really think that R. Kelly's like the only person in the whole music industry right now that's got a crew of women that's like young and just hanging out at his crib. Not even music. I
mean, we're talking really entertainment in general.
Exactly. Anybody that's got cash, like, you know what I'm saying? It could be a chic. Shake.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's just a weird, like, depraved, like, part of the human mind.
Yes.
That is just enabled by cash.
Yes.
Is really what it is. Like, like if you're broke, this is not happening for you.
No.
It's like you can't. This is not going down.
Not at all.
Nobody wants to be with some broke dude. Even 13-year-olds know that.
Exactly.
Yo, you see what I'm saying? I got about me needing to fucking slow my roll. Jeez. I'm going to get myself in trouble. Is there anyone else from Chicago we should talk about?
We're done with this topic on R, but yeah, he's definitely still the king of R&B and created some really great sounds over decades, really decades. It's like 30 years now. And honest to goodness, I live in Brooklyn, and there was a backyard party, and they were just blasting I Believe I Can Fly like 2 weeks ago. So he's definitely got fans, and people can separate the music from him. I don't know. He had such really good ones. But even before this whole perverted thing started happening, when he started going too far with the Trapped in the Closet series, I started thinking he was an idiot. And I stopped listening to R. Kelly.
Did you ever see the South Park on that?
No.
Oh my God, it was so funny. It was literally like Tom Cruise was in the closet. He was locked in the closet, and they were like, "Tom Cruise, why don't you just come out of the closet?" And they're like, "Oh, we'll get R. Kelly to help him out." So that R. Kelly's like, he comes and he's like, "Tom, won't you come out the closet?" And then I pull out my gun, and then he did. You gotta look that up. It's so funny. That's a classic South Park episode.
What in the world? Yeah.
Those guys are ahead of the time.
Yeah.
I wish they were from Chicago so we could talk about them in this episode, but they're from Colorado, so it has no connection at all.
None.
But, okay. Who else do we need to talk about from Chicago?
I don't know. There's no one else. There's some R&B singers. I was going to mention... Mickey Howard. Okay, well, Mickey Howard is from Chicago. Okay, so Mickey Howard is an R&B songstress. She pretty much made it big in the 80s. She was huge before that. I forgot what group she was singing with, but I didn't know her until she started singing in the late 80s and 90s. So my experience with Mickey Howard was just this is an R&B diva. She looks great. She sings great. Oh, she's dating one of the Levert brothers, who's the son of Gerald Levert from the OJs. And that's great. And that's it. All right. So cut to years later as an adult. They play Mickey Howard's Unsung Story on TV One. I don't have anything to do. I'm like, I know who Mickey Howard is. I was like, let's watch it.
Check it out.
Oh my gosh. This lady's husband was like pimping her out. They would argue at the record company. He would hit her in the face right there in front of the record company.
Why is that always the story?
I don't know.
That's always the fucking story.
Apparently, Shaka in the movie... Okay, so I'm going to say allegedly, just so we don't get sued. No, I'm just kidding. But in the movie, Shaka Khan...
Are we maniacs or are we not maniacs?
so Shaka Khan turns her on to crack? Like, you know what I'm saying? They're like hanging out and...
What's wrong with that?
What's wrong with that?
It's delicious.
Apparently, Shaka only messes with the great singers that can be down with the crack. She was like... and the way that Shaka Khan was... emulated, it sounded like Shaka was like a fiend, like, oh, this the good shit right here. Like, it was pretty bad. Like,
speaking of crack, so I'm not gonna say who told me this, but while I was with a bunch of people in Chicago, two of my family members told me a story where back in the day they were in Times Square, they were trying to get some weed.
Yeah.
And the dude accidentally just gave them crack.
What? No, it's different.
And they literally was like, "Oh, what? Like, this isn't what I fucking wanted."
No.
And then they like turned around to like, I mean, they weren't gonna get a refund.
No.
But they like turned around and the guy was getting jumped. Just like that, like. Like some shit like that. I don't know. I had a few drinks in me when I was told this story, so I don't remember exactly, but that just made me laugh so hard.
He probably got jumped for giving away somebody's shit.
Whatever it was, it's just you're talking about crack, and we were talking, and it just made me laugh because that's some 80s New York shit.
Yeah, and this is definitely like a 80s 70s story that I'm telling. So it's like, she's going through her problems with her husband, who was her manager, who wanted to take her over her career, and then she started dating somebody else, and it's back and forth. And then now she's picked up a drug problem because of Shaka Khan, and now she can't get her second and her third album. So now it's like everybody's gypping her in this movie. movie and stuff. And she finally goes to somebody's house and he owes her money. And he's like, I'm not giving you any of this money. And then they start fighting each other. And she actually like punches him in the face. This is her redemption moment. She punches the guy in the face and she stands over him and she's like, I'm Mickey Howard, bitch. Like,
yeah,
exactly.
If she had a mic, she'd drop it.
If she had a mic, she would drop it. But it's just so funny. Like, cutting back to you talking about social media. Now imagine this was an R&B diva, and she was pretty huge in the R&B streets, right? You know what I'm saying? So, like her, people like Anita Baker, Shaka Khan, and stuff like that. We never knew about their problems. They were right. Yeah, they were just propped up on stage. They made the hits. They made the single. They looked like perfection. They spoke well.
That's a good point.
They never had an attitude problem. If some other singer said something about them, they didn't put it in the news or anything like that. We never knew anything about this, you know? So it's like, it's crazy. All I knew was her songs. And then they told me a completely different story.
That is a really good point. Because back in the day, like, you would only see what they publicly were out doing.
Yes.
Like, you couldn't even get caught, like, on the sidewalk with, like, a little like, someone taking a video of you doing something. Like,
right.
Oh, wow. That's so interesting.
Yeah, it's so different now. I mean, I kind of wish it was kind of the same because they've got a lot of R&B female singers out right now, and I'm not going to mention them because I don't like their personalities, and they have beautiful voices, and I cannot stand them, and you would never see me streaming or buying any of their music because of who they are on social media.
So if you didn't know who they were, you would be more receptive to their music, is what
exactly.
you're saying.
Exactly.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I don't want to see you when I have to attach you to that personality and that face with the face you're making and all of that.
You think there's anybody that's like, you know, Side After Dark, like, their music is pretty good, but have you seen their podcast? What the fuck is wrong with them? I can't listen to this shit now. Listen to our music wherever you listen to music, people. Side After Dark, SIGHT.
Well, yeah. I wanted to kind of end it on her because I like her. I actually liked her music and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, really, to sum it up, like, the city of Chicago and its relationship with music is wild. It's very varied.
Yeah.
It's very deep.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, you know, different factors that led to Chicago being such a hub of music.
Yeah.
Which I think it still is. I don't know, like, I didn't really catch any live music or anything when I was there. Mm-hmm. But I feel like, well, nowadays, I mean, you can really pop off from anywhere with the internet.
Yeah.
It's not as localized to a scene.
Yeah, exactly.
So much.
Yeah, who would have thought a Canadian rapper would dominate the rap game for like years? You know, 15, 20 years ago.
What are you talking about? You talking about Kanye?
Oh, I thought it was.
Yeah, so thanks for watching, listening, however you decide to view podcasts. We are on YouTube with this in case you want to see what we look like.
Yay.
You probably don't. But yeah, so we're Side After Dark. This has been Music Maniacs. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being Music Maniacs with us.
Thanks, guys.
And we'll see you around.
Later.